Welcome everybody back to Monica's Mayhem, and this is another episode of the MonicaVerse What If. I do these what if stories to entertain you guys, and I kind of sit back and do my thoughts on how things would change if we change a little bit of things in the universes. So, in this universe, or should I say, in this what if Tony Stark was in Gotham? And let's just say, instead of Bruce Wayne and Wayne Enterprises, it was Stark Enterprises and Tony Stark. So, what would happen? How would this work? And as you can see from the title, the Iron That. So, he lost everything he built himself and he became a legend. Not Iron Man, not Bruce Wayne. Tony Stark is that man, or Iron That. So, guys, this is my own art creation. So the comic book cover is my own creation. I do not own it. I do not own the DC Comics heroes or anything like that. I'm just doing a what if. The music, it is mine. I created. So let us go. Let us delve into what if Tony Stark was the Iron That. Crime Alley. Rain poured endlessly across the dark streets of Gotham City. 9-year-old Tony Stark walked between his parents, his small shoes splashing through puddles while neon lights reflected across the wet pavement. His father, Howard Stark, talked business as usual. Stark Enterprises keeps pushing military contracts into the East District. Howard muttered, Gotham's eating itself alive. Maria Stark squeezed Tony's hand gently. Enough business talk tonight. Tony rolled his eyes dramatically. Please, you two are boring. Howard smirked. You'll understand one day. The family turned a narrow alley to avoid traffic. That was the moment everything changed. A figure stepped from the shadows, dirty, cold, eyes wide, eyes wild, shaking hands, holding a revolver. Wallets, jewelry, now! Maria gasped. Howard stepped forward. Take it easy. Bang! Howard Stark collapsed instantly. Maria screamed. Tony froze. Time stopped. Another gunshot exploded. Maria fell beside Howard. Mom! Tony dropped to his knees. The gunman panicked as police sirens echoed in the distance. Tony launched at him in a blind rage. The thief fired again. Pain erupted through Tony's chest like molten metal. The boy collapsed beside his parents. Blood spilled across the alley floor. The gunman fled into darkness. Young Tony stared upward as the rain mixed with blood. His tiny hands touched his chest. His heartbeat faded. Then everything went black. The broken heart. Tony Stark survived. Barely. Doctors at Gotham General worked for hours trying to save him. The bullet had shredded part of his heart. Machines beeped endlessly around his hospital bed while surgeons argued outside the room. He'll never survive long term. The damage is catastrophic. He needs constant assistance. Weeks later, Tony finally woke. Pale, weak, alone. The primitive electromagnetic pacemaker cape kept him alive. But every heartbeat felt unstable. Every breath hurt. Every movement reminded him of the alley, of failure, of death, and worst of all, fear. The young billionaire disappeared from public life soon after. The newspaper called him traumatic. The board members called him unstable. The city called him cursed. But beneath Stark Manor, Tony Stark was becoming something else. The reactor. Years passed. Tony grew into a brilliant but isolated young man. Unlike the carefree celebrity he might have become in another life, Gotham hardened him early. The mansion became silent, cold, empty. Only machines spoke to him now. Massive holographic screens illuminated hidden underground laboratories beneath Stark Manor. Tony, obsessed with engineering, power systems, miniaturized energy, artificial organics. He didn't care about becoming rich. He didn't care about fame. He cared about surviving. The pacemaker was failing. Every month brought more pain. Every year brought another surgery. One winter night, Tony stared at the prototype reactor glowing on his workbench. A tiny circle of impossible energy. Blue light reflected across his exhausted face. This has to work. The mechanical arms lowered towards Tony's chest. No doctors, no anesthesia, no backup plan. Tony screamed as metal pierced flesh. Electricity surged through his body. For one horrifying moment, his heart stopped completely. Then, boom! The arc reactor ignited. Blue light exploded beneath his skin. Machines throughout the laboratory powered on simultaneously. Tony collapsed to the floor, gasping. Alive. For the first time since Crime Alley, his heart beat strong. Not human, not natural, but powerful. Tony smiled weakly. I fixed it. The cave. Months later, Tony wandered the abandoned lower sections of Stark Manor during a thunderstorm. The old mansion had secrets even he didn't fully understand. Dust-covered, forgotten hallways, ancient stonework stretched beneath the foundations. Tony eventually discovered a collapsed tunnel hidden behind old wine shelves. Curious, he entered carrying only a flashlight. The deeper he descended, the stranger the caverns became. Massive underground chambers stretched endlessly beneath Gotham. Ancient, dark, almost alive. Then he heard wings, thousands of them. Bats erupted through the darkness around him. Tony stumbled backwards as creatures swarmed overhead. One remained. A massive black bat pierced above him silently, watching. Its glowing eyes reflected the arc reactor in Tony's chest. The creature suddenly lurched forward. Tony flinched as it soared directly over him and disappeared upward through a shaft of moonlight. Tony followed it. He climbed out onto a cliff overlooking Gotham City. Rain hammered the skyline. Lightning illuminated towering skyscrapers. Crime, corruption, fear. Tony stared across the city that murdered his parents. Then he looked toward the cave entrance behind him. The answer suddenly became clear. Criminals fear guns. He touched the reactor on his chest. They fear monsters more. The Iron Bat. The world believed Tony Stark had become a recluse. In truth, he was building a war machine. Deep beneath Stark Manor, robotic assembly systems worked non-stop. Tony designed armor unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Not red and gold, black, gunmetal, predatory. A fusion of stealth bomber technology and powered combat armor. Bat-like ears formed on top of the helmet. A flowing armored cape contained folding glider wings. The chest reactor glowed an icy blue beneath reinforced plating. Tony Stark stood before the completed suit. Mark 1. Mechanical arms attached the armor piece by piece. The helmet sealed shut. HUD systems activated instantly. Targeting online. Stealth systems active. Arc reactor stable. Tony took his first step. The floor creaked beneath the armor's weight. He smiled. Oh, that's terrifying. Gotham's demon. The underworld heard rumors first. A monster. A machine. A black armored demon hunting criminals at night. The Falcone crime family lost 3 drug warehouses in 1 week. Weapon shipments vanish. Gang leaders disappear. Security footage showed only blurred shadows and glowing blue eyes. Then came the docks. 20 armed smugglers loaded military rifles into cargo trucks near Gotham Harbor. One man laughed nervously. You really think some robot bat is real? A deep mechanical voice echoed from above. Yes. The smugglers looked up. The iron bat descended from darkness like a missile. Jet-assisted boots smashed through the dock platforms. The impact shattered concrete. Panic erupted instantly. Bullets exploded harmlessly against black armor. Tony launched electromagnetic batarangs. The weapons ripped from criminals' hands. Sonic emitters burst eardrums. Smoke flooded the dockyard. Tony moved through the chaos like a living tank, efficient, terrifying. One thug emptied an assault rifle into Tony's chest. The Iron Bat slowly walked through the gunfire, blue eyes glowing. Done. The dog fainted. Police arrived minutes later to find dozens of criminals tied upside down, destroyed weapon crates. Spray painted onto the steel container was a symbol. A black bat surrounding a glowing blue reactor. Gotham had a new legend. Jim Gordon hated vigilantes, but Gotham gave him few options. Standing atop police headquarters during another rainy night, Gordon activated the bat signal for the first time. Except this version was different. A bat silhouette with a glowing circle in the center. Moments later, repulsor engines echoed through the clouds. The Iron Bat landed behind him heavily. Tony's voice emerged mechanically. You wanted my attention? Gordon turned carefully. You escalated things. So are they, replied Tony. You nearly leveled the docks. They were trafficking military weapons. You could kill someone. Tony stepped closer. So could Gotham. The two men stared silently at one another. Finally, Gordon sighed. I don't trust you. Tony nodded behind the helmet. Good. Smart people rarely do. Then the Iron Bat blasted upward into the night sky. Gordon watched him disappear. Part savior, part threat. The Joker loved Gotham because it was insane. Then the Iron Bat appeared, and suddenly, someone else was stealing the spotlight. The Joker sat inside an abandoned carnival, watching stolen news footage repeatedly. Black armor, blue eyes, mechanical fury. The clown smiled slowly. Ooh. He leaned toward the screen. You're not like the others, are you? Unlike Bruce Wayne's Batman, Tony Stark fought with sarcasm. Ego. Anger. The Joker recognized it instantly. This Batman wasn't emotionally dead. He was wounded. And wounds could be exploited. The Joker began orchestrating larger attacks. More chaos, more deaths. Testing the Iron Bat, pushing him harder each night until finally he crossed the line. The Gotham monorail exploded at rush hour. Hundreds died instantly. The Joker hijacked every television broadcast across the city. His laughing face appeared everywhere. "Hello, Gotham!" Behind him, burned wreckage and corpses. "I just want to see if your shiny robot bat could save everyone." Inside Stark Manor, Tony stared silently at the broadcast. His hands trembled, not from fear, from rage. The arc reactor pulsed brighter, faster. His AI system spoke carefully. "Tony, your vitals are unstable." Tony ignored it. The armor assembly systems activated automatically. But this suit was different. Heavier, more militarized. Missile pods, combat drones, high-yield repulsor. The AI hesitated. This configuration exceeds non-lethal protocols. Tony's expression darkened. "Override them." The Iron War. Rain flooded Gotham Cemetery. The Joker stood among burning police cars, laughing hysterically. "You came!" The Iron Bat landed before him like an executioner. This armor looked monstrous, larger, sharper. Blue energy pulsed violently through its systems. The Joker grinned. Oh, there you are." Tony grabbed him instantly by the throat. The clown kept laughing. "That's the problem with you, Tony." The Joker leaned closer. "You think armor fixes broken hearts." Tony tightened his grip. "You've killed children. And you want to kill me." The reactor glowed brighter. For one terrifying moment, Tony almost did it. The entire city held its breath. Then Gordon's voice echoed nearby. "Don't!" Police surrounded the cemetery. Gordon stepped forward slowly. "If you cross that line, there's no going back." Tony stared at the Joker, at Gotham, at himself, and finally, he released him. The Joker collapsed, laughing in the mud. "I win anyway." Tony turned away silently and rocketed into the sky. But Gotham would never forget how close the Iron Bat came to becoming something worse. Years later, Gotham became safer than ever before. Crime dropped dramatically. Corrupted officials vanished. Advanced Stark security systems protected entire districts. But people still feared the Iron Bat, not because he was evil, because he wasn't human anymore. High above Gotham Tower, Tony Stark stood overlooking the city in his armor. Rain fell across black metal. The arc reactor glowed steady beneath his chest. A symbol born from tragedy, a heart built from pain. Gordon approached him quietly. "You think Gotham finally at peace?" Tony looked across the skyline. "No." "Why not?" Tony's glowing eyes narrowed toward distant sirens. "Because people always need something to fear." He activated the helmet, "and I will make sure it isn't each other." The Iron Bat launched into the night sky as thunder rolled across Gotham. Not Iron Man, not Batman, something darker, something stronger. A legend forged from two worlds. The guardian of Gotham had become the Iron Bat. Well, guys, and there is your story. What if Tony Stark became Batman? I have to think about this too, because I love Iron Man and I love Batman. So why not mix the two? What if in the DC universe, Tony Stark was there, not Bruce Wayne? Notice there was no Alfred, there's no Robins, no bad girls. This was just basically Tony. And well, let's dive into it. In another universe, young Tony Stark wasn't born into the bright California future of weapon expos and celebrity genius. Instead, he grew up in Gotham. One cold night after leaving a charity gala, Tony walked beside his parents, Howard Stark and Maria Stark, through a dark alley. A murderer stepped from the shadows, gunshots echoed. Howard fell first, Maria screamed, then Tony. You know, in this story, I look at it like, you know, Tony took the Batman concept. You know, the bat still happened, the flying through the back bats flying through the caves, the giant bats staring at him. I think in the comics years ago, there was Azrael, who was a different type of Batman. He was an iron armored Batman with he slashed people with claws and everything. So honestly, I think Tony would become something similar to that. And the unlike the where Bruce Wayne made, Wayne Enterprises, and he did a lot of technology and everything. I think Tony would do the same, but mostly with security stuff to protect the city. And he would make money quietly. I think that, honestly, that would probably be the best thing. And then afterwards, the thing with Iron Bat, which has happened. Honestly, the whole scenario of an Iron Man type Batman is incredible. How would the other heroes of the DC universe compete with it? Would Superman meet this version of Batman? With Flash, with Wonder Woman, how would they react? Because he's not like Bruce Wayne, that's always brooding. Tony is like sarcastic, he has an ego, he's angry. I think he would taunt them more. And I think in this case, he would probably figure out everybody's, weaknesses and stop them immediately. So I think that's the difference between Tony Stark and Bruce Wayne. Tony has a heart. Tony would care about everybody. And honestly, I think that is, a cool concept. And instead of the red and gold, it'll just be plain black. So, guys, tell me what you think of this story. And again, thank you very much for listening to my rants, listening to the way I talk, I tell the stories. I'm making more every week. So stay following. Let me know what you think. Give me any ideas. I'm also making my own version of comics. So let me know what you think. Let me know what if you want me to tackle. Because I have many more than I have to record. So with that, I'm going to say thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And you take care.